They worked in nearly complete secrecy. They risked everything to protect their work, and in just a few short years, they changed the world without even realizing it. This is the story of the first ATM. But no, wait, hold up. This isn't the story of the first ATM. In fact, ATMs weren't invented until decades after this story took place. Instead, this is the story of a secret team of code breakers who worked in near total silence during one of humanity's darkest hours. Their efforts helped bring an end to the war and laid the foundations for modern computers. But their accomplishments didn't earn them fame or fortune. For many years, even their families didn't know what they did for a living. So who were these mysterious figures, and why have you never heard of them? It's me, and this is the story of the secret team of codebreakers who cracked the unbreakable code. Imagine a secret team of codebreakers working in silence while the fate of the world hangs in the balance. It's like something out of a Hollywood movie, right? Well, it's actually based on a true story. During World War II, a German military machine called Enigma encrypted coded messages that seemed impossible to crack. But a team of brilliant minds led by Alan Turing at Bletchley Park in England managed to decode these messages, providing valuable intelligence to the Allies and shortening the war by an estimated 4 years. Now that's a story worth telling. Let's start at the beginning. The Germans used a machine called Enigma to encrypt their military messages. This machine could generate billions of letter combinations every second, making it virtually impossible to crack. Enigma consisted of a series of rotors that would turn and change the letters of any message typed into the machine. Each rotor had 26 possible positions, meaning there were countless ways to encrypt a single letter. The Germans believed that their messages were secure, and they were right, sort of. They were right because the Enigma machine was incredibly complex, and the odds of guessing the right rotor settings were astronomically small. But the problem was not with the machine itself, but with how the Germans used it. They used the same rotor setting for days, weeks, or even months at a time. This meant that the code breakers at Bletchley Park didn't need to crack the entire Enigma system. They just needed to figure out the daily or weekly key settings to decrypt the messages. Once they knew the key, the rest was easy. So enter Alan Turing, a brilliant mathematician and computer scientist who would later become famous for his work on the first computers. Turing realized that to crack Enigma, they needed a machine that could test thousands of possibilities at lightning speed. He designed the bomb machine, which used a series of wheels and shafts to mimic the Enigma machine's rotors. When the bomb's rotors were set to the correct position, the machine would produce a paper tape with the decrypted message. The bomb wasn't perfect, but it was a game changer. It allowed the code breakers to go from days or weeks to seconds or minutes when it came to decoding messages. But it wasn't just the bomb that made Turing's team successful. It was also the people. Thousands of code breakers, mathematicians, linguists, and engineers worked tirelessly at Bletchley Park to crack the Enigma code. They worked in shifts around the clock and often had to deal with faulty equipment or incomplete messages. Despite the challenges, they made significant progress. By the end of the war, they were decrypting up to 150 Enigma messages per day. One of the most important messages they intercepted was the German plan for the 1943 invasion of North Africa. With this intelligence, the British and American forces were able to launch a surprise attack, defeating the Germans and securing vital resources for the Allies. Another critical message they decoded revealed a plan to assassinate the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. While the assassination attempt was unsuccessful, it highlighted the importance of Bletchley Park's work. If the Germans had succeeded in killing Churchill, the outcome of the war could have been very different. However, despite their crucial role in winning the war, the code breakers at Bletchley Park didn't receive much recognition until decades later. In fact, the work at Bletchley Park was classified for so long that many of the code breakers couldn't even tell their families what they did for a living. It wasn't until the 1970s and 80s that documents began to be released, and the true extent of their work was revealed. One of the reasons for the secrecy was the fear that the Germans might discover that their codes had been broken. If that happened, they would have changed their encryption methods and rendered all of Bletchley Park's work useless. Another reason was the political climate of the time. After the war, the United States and Britain wanted to maintain their military advantage over the Soviet Union. They didn't want the Soviets to know that they had cracked the Enigma code, so they kept it a secret. But the secrecy didn't just affect the code breakers. It also affected those who received the decrypted messages. For example, the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill saw the value of Bletchley Park's work, but he didn't realize the full extent of it until decades after the war ended. He once remarked that if it hadn't been for the work of the secret code breakers, the outcome of the war could have been very different. In addition to cracking Enigma, the code breakers at Bletchley Park worked on other secret projects. They developed new ways to encrypt messages, designed some of the earliest computers, and helped to establish the field of cryptography. One of their most notable projects was the development of Colossus, the world's first programmable electronic computer. Colossus was originally designed to decrypt German messages, but it later became the basis for the first commercial computers. The legacy of Bletchley Park continues to this day. The work of the code breakers there saved countless lives and helped to shape the world we live in today. The methods and technologies they developed paved the way for modern cryptography and computer science. And their story is a reminder that sometimes the most important contributions are made in silence. And now for the part you've been waiting for, the connection to the first ATM. While the work of the code breakers at Bletchley Park didn't directly lead to the invention of ATMs, it did contribute to the development of the computing technology that ATMs rely on. You see, the first ATMs, like many early computers, were programmed using punch cards. This method was simple and effective, but it was also slow and cumbersome. It took hours to program a basic calculation, let alone a complex transaction like the ones that take place at an ATM. Enter Ada Lovelace, a mathematician who worked with Charles Babbage on his early computer designs. She realized that to make computers more useful, they needed to be programmed in a more efficient way. Lovelace developed the first algorithm intended to be processed by a machine, laying the groundwork for modern programming languages. Her work was groundbreaking, but it wasn't widely recognized until decades later. As the field of computer science developed, programmers found new ways to make computers faster and more efficient. One of the breakthroughs came with the invention of the transistor in 1947. This small switch-like device could be used to represent either a 0 or a 1, allowing computers to perform calculations at lightning speed. In 1958, Jack Kilby of Texas Instruments and Robert Noyce of Fairchild Semiconductor independently invented the integrated circuit, which combined multiple transistors and other components onto a single piece of silicon. This innovation led to the development of smaller, faster, and more reliable computers. In the early 1960s, a British engineer named Donald Wales and an American team led by Samuel A. Diller Jr. began experimenting with a new type of computer that used stored program control. This meant that the computer's internal memory could be used to store the program instructions, allowing for greater flexibility and efficiency. The result was the first ATM, which was installed in a bank in Enfield, London in 1967. So while the work of the code breakers at Bletchley Park didn't directly lead to the invention of ATMs, it did contribute to the development of the computing technology that ATMs rely on. From the early algorithms of Ada Lovelace to the integrated circuits of Jack Kilby and Robert Noyce, each breakthrough brought us closer to the sophisticated machines that we take for granted today. And it all started with a group of brilliant minds working in silence. And now here's your engagement hook. Can you imagine a world without computers or the internet? Without Turing? That might have been our reality. So stay tuned for more untold stories of history's hidden heroes. So there you have it, the incredible story of Alan Turing and the code breakers at Bletchley Park. Their work was instrumental in winning the war and laid the foundations for modern computers. But what do you think? What's the most interesting thing you learned about Turing or the code breakers? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more untold stories that shaped our world. Until next time.